Hari Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are going to speak about giving out the mercy in the form of giving lectures or discussions or seminars. If we are practicing properly Krishna consciousness, the natural result from this will be that we feel happy and satisfied. This is very important criteria to understand if we are following the process properly. And then if we feel happy and satisfied in Krishna consciousness, naturally you want to give this to others. So one way or other we will have to transmit spiritual knowledge to others. And how to do it? There are different ways. We can do it in a friendly way, just to sit with one person and just try to share some of the important moments in our philosophy, or it can be more in a more formal way, in the form of seminars or lectures or Srimad Bhagavatam class or Bhagavad Gita class. So the venue may be different, or the people to which we are speaking can be different. Sometimes it can be to devotees, sometimes it can be to totally new people. But in all these cases there are some important principles on which we could say to a big extent our success will be based on. So today we are going to speak about few of them. And of course, as we spoke the previous time, our first meeting, Bhakta meeting, was that the mood is the most important thing. When we do something in Krishna consciousness, the most important thing is the mood. And in the same way, when we are giving lecture or speaking with someone trying to explain the philosophy, what is our mood is the most important thing. So what do you think should be our mood when we are giving class? Would you like to mention something coming to your mind?
Wanting to somehow help the people that we're giving a lecture to.
Okay, so speaking with compassion. You really want to help. This is opposite to what?
Wanting to show that you're better?
Yes, exactly. You speak just because you want to show how much you know, how you understand, how you are greater than others, and so on and so on. So basically, speaking out of false ego, it won't be helpful. Because people, they subtly feel that you just want to show off. And immediately this makes them to back off. So that's one very important thing. You really have to speak to give others and not to show that you are the great Vaishnava. Something else which is also connected with this, speaking to help others. What should be our... Yes, something which is connected with our connection between Krishna and the Guru. What should be our idea of our connection? Who wants to say? Jimmy?
The transparent medium.
Okay, yes, correct.
Yeah, give them knowledge.
Yes. We are just instruments in the hands of Guru and Krishna. We are transparent via media. We're just trying to be available so that they can use us. This is also very important. Okay, something else? comes to mind?
Speaking, some devotees tell me when they give lectures, a lot of the realizations come. Like they read sometimes, they get some realization, but a lot more comes when speaking, then they get a lot more realization. Some devotees told me.
Yes.
But I guess that's more speaking for our own self.
When we speak, we are getting more realizations. Yes, this is definitely the case. For few reasons. One reason is that you are doing service, so Krishna is giving you mercy, so you are realizing this knowledge. Other reason is that in order to speak, you have to first read. So this pushes us to read more, to prepare more. So naturally, we start understanding the philosophy more. Third point is you cannot explain something unless you understand it. You can repeat something without understanding. But if you have to explain it with your own words, if you don't understand it, you cannot explain. If the person comes and asks you, so what is the meaning of this sentence? You can repeat the same sentence. But if you have to explain what is the meaning, you have to really think deeply about it so that you can, with your own words, say the same thing in a way that the person understands. So, yes, sometimes it is said that there are different variations of this, but 1 hour of reading will be equal 20 minutes of explaining or teaching. So basically, if you prepare a lecture 20 minutes, this is just like you read 1 hour, even more. Why? Because not always when we read, our mind is completely absorbed. Often our mind do 2 or 3 things at the same time. We read, but we think about the breakfast, and at the same time we think about the lunch and the dinner as well. So few things at the same time. So let's go again to the qualities that we need. I would say also very important qualities, humility. If people, they feel that you are humble, they will be ready to listen from you. Humility is connection with the idea that you are instrument in the hands of Krishna. So humility does not mean that always you speak in a, how we present ourselves, extremely humble way. This may be the case, but sometimes humility may mean that you are speaking very strongly. Why? Because you are ready to do whatever Krishna wants you to do. So basically, to try to be an instrument in the hands of Krishna, it's a real humility. Not just the external mood of humility, speaking very softly and very mildly. But we have to be humble in the sense that we have to represent Krishna properly, as it is, without making others to go away. Sometimes you may think, I'm representing Krishna, and then you become so heavy with the people that they just leave. That means something is wrong. We should not make people go away from Krishna. Rather, we should preach and explain the philosophy in such a way that people come closer to Krishna. Yes, this is our goal. We want to make people come closer to Krishna. We should also remember that we don't have qualification on our own. On our own, we are not qualified to represent the Vedic knowledge, the Vedic scriptures. Who of us is qualified? Someone born in a Brahmin family? Maybe Nitish? Maybe. No?
Nowhere near. Who understand?
Alex, you're born in a Brahmin family?
No. Who understand?
You studied the Vedas 12 years in a Gurukula? No? You never touch meat in your life? You never touch alcohol? So we are not qualified to represent this knowledge, but somehow, for some other one reason or other, Krishna is choosing us to be an instrument, so we have to remember this and be very humble. At some point, more qualified people will come, and then we can just go and cut vegetables in the kitchen and chant Hare Krishna and leave the real Brahmins do the Brahminical job. But until then, until these qualified people come, someone has to do the job. So now nobody is here, so we have to do it. We have to have this mood, that we are just an instrument in the hands of Krishna. And then it's good that before giving class, especially if this is a class to the devotees and there are senior devotees, we always ask for their mercy, for their blessing, because without the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we cannot be successful. So basically, before to start the class, we have to first prepare ourselves for the class by having the proper mood, the proper attitude. Once this is done, actually, this is the more difficult part. Once the mood is proper, even if your class is not the most amazing class, the most technical, the most interesting, with the amazing stories that no one heard before, no problem. You just speak bona fide with the proper mood, this will be a great class. All the serious, sincere devotees will very much appreciate. If they're here, you are speaking the things as they are.
Yeah, what is this verse? Tad sarvajna tagadi poyasmin pradeshlake.
Namani anantasya yashankitanya shivanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining that even if someone presents the Shastra with mistakes, apparently, there is no mistakes when one tries to present Shastra.
Mistakes meaning English is not perfect. Grammatical discrepancies, maybe your pronunciation is not the best. It doesn't mean mistake in a philosophical presentation.
Yes.
The Siddhanta is the same, but you just present in a
So
simple way.
people who are sincere, they will appreciate, and they will accept, and they will hear, and they will repeat this message. So try to develop the proper mood. One practical thing I would suggest, at least I saw it helps me all these years very much. If before speaking, doesn't matter in front of new people or devotees, if I get into the mood of surrender, how? There is a very easy way to get into the mood of surrender. What is that?
Praying.
Praying helps, but sometimes you may pray, you may not be really in a mood of surrender. But one thing really helps you to be in a mood of surrender.
Stay humble.
Yeah, but there is a practical way to do it.
Always know that you don't, give them a chance to speak and observe them and stay don't be too proud that I know much.
Yeah, but still inside you can be.
Proper
Jimmy.
attitude.
Bowing. Yeah, helps, bowing helps.
Remembering that your only qualification is you're trying to represent your guru.
This will help also a lot. One thing that helped me a lot, if I know, let's say I'll give seminar or lecture something, I go out on Sankirtan for 1-2 hours. And then definitely your false ego is totally smashed. Then it's very easy to give a humble class. Because if you are on the street and you are proud, people then, they don't care. They'll smash you like anything. And then you understand who are you actually. And then it's very easy to speak from a humble position. If sometimes you feel you are proud, just go out on Sankirtan with the books for 1-2 hours. Because in the temple you may pretend, oh, I am this and this Bhakta, I am 20 years devotee, I know all the Shastras, I have been to Mayapur, I have been this and there. When you go on the street, nobody cares who are you. Just people, they will pass through you like anything. So unless you are humble, you won't be able to do anything. So immediately, somehow the Sankirtan, or just going and chanting 1-2 hours Harinam, they automatically purify our consciousness and helps us to be in a proper mood for speaking, for representing the philosophy and the teachings. So I heard some years ago from Jayadvaita Swami, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj. He was one of the first devotees in New York. I don't know if that was the temple, I think temple before this one, but he was telling me, one time we were speaking and he was telling me, in 68, when I joined, we had a standard for giving a class for new people. What you have to speak when the new people come. 4 points that you have to mention in your presentation of the philosophy. Yes. So which were these 4 points? First one.
You're not the.
Yes. Which
You're
one?
not the body.
We are not this body. Yes. We are spirit soul. That's the first point we have to present in our lecture for new people. Then second one is material world is a place of suffering, place of misery. So in other words, this is not the natural place for the soul. That's why the soul will always feel uncomfortable and situation will be problematic.
4 sutras.
You could say like 4 sutras, yes. So material world means suffering. Then the third point is you cannot realize that you are a soul, or you cannot realize the spiritual knowledge on your own. You need a guru. We need a guru. We need authority in spiritual life. We cannot do it on our own. So we have to become humble in front of representative of Krishna and accept the process as it is. And then the 4 main point is the process for this age is Harinam Sankirtan, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So 4 points. Whenever we preach to new people, gradually, one way or the other, we may start from this point or that point, but these 4 points, Jayadvaita Maharaj was telling me, they should be in a lecture. If they were there, we consider this lecture bona fide. So these are points that you have mentioned in your preaching. So, when we are speaking, when we give lectures, we can always keep this in mind, and this can be something like a, how you say? What is the English word?
Frame.
Yeah, like a frame that we are using to know where we are. Okay, I said about this, but I didn't mention about this. If we mention these 4 points, more or less we cover all the main aspects of the philosophy. So let's repeat them one more time.
Not the body.
Yes.
Material world.
And what? Not the body and what?
Spirit soul.
Yes, correct.
Material world is a place of misery.
Yes. Suffering. Then what else? Alex, third point. We need guru. And the 4th one?
Harinam is the only way. And chant.
Harinam is the only way, yes. Chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's the process for spiritual elevation. Okay, good. So, yeah.
Yeah, you say it.
So soon we'll make a meeting that all of you have to make a short presentation. 5 to 7 minute presentation. We'll give you the topics and you have to speak, and everybody else after that will give you a short feedback, so that you can start being conscious what are you doing and which are the things you do properly, and maybe there will be some feedback, what you can change, what you can improve. And in this way, if you're doing this regularly, gradually you'll see you'll feel very relaxed when you have to speak, when you have to present the philosophy. Some of you already have some experience, some of you don't have experience, but gradually it's good that you start getting familiar with this thing. Yes.
I just want to mention, maybe you have noticed these 4 points. They are connected to Sambandha, Videya and Prayojana. So this is the traditional way how we structure our presentation. And our understanding also. So Sambandha, like the first point is we are not this body. Sambandha Gyan means the connection between the soul, the material world and God. So this is Sambandha. Who are we? What is this material world and who is Krishna and what is our relationship. So, and the second point as well is falls into Sambandha. And then the third point, then Abhidheya, is the method, the methodology, the way for attaining the goal. So this is the third, and the fourth point also. We have to accept Guru, and under the authority of the Guru, we should chant the holy name. Okay, and then the prayojana is the goal, the ultimate necessity, the need. What is the need of the soul, which is pure love for Krishna? So I guess it's included in the fourth point, because Hare Krishna
Chanting the holy name is...
It is the goal and the mean to attain the goal. Because once we attain the goal, we'll continue to chant Hare Krishna. So another way, to structure in your mind the knowledge that we have to imbibe and present. Sambandha Vidaya Prayojana. This is the way of the acharyas. This is how Srila Prabhupada also presents always. If you read his purport, he won't mention always the terms, but he will actually go through this Sambandha Vidaya Prayojana. And if you're careful, when you read the purports, you'll notice it. Okay? So you all know about these three, right? Sambandha, Abhidheya.
Very simple way to have all the philosophy that we have, to be able to structure it in basically 4 or 5 sentences.
Yeah, and it's not just one of the ways, it is the way. This is just, you can read in Untitled Chapter, Mahaprabhu, he says that in the Vedic literature there is only 3 topics. Sambandha, Vidaya and Prayojana. Everything is included in, this is the way, how the acharyas present knowledge. And also when you try to analyze different philosophies, you don't have to be confused, like Mayavadis or Buddhists or even some karmic philosopher. The only thing you have to do is you have to ask them these 3 questions. What is their sambandha, what is their prayojana, and what is their method to attain? So then you can easily understand very, very clearly what are the deficiencies in their philosophy. If they don't know, they have no idea about the soul or about God, or they don't know what is actually this material world, then obviously their goal will be something completely bogus. Their prayojana will be improper.
Or for example, they chant the holy name, but when you ask them, so what's your goal? And they are saying, well, my goal is to go to heaven and there will be 50 virgin girls waiting there for me. So immediately you understand something is wrong with their philosophy.
Prayojana is not proper. And sambandha also.
Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojana. You know about these things. Have you heard before? Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojana.
Alex, you know?
Chut.
Okay. Now
May-
can you, after hearing this?
Maybe after that we can I can explain one more time. Okay. It's okay? In Russian.
You heard these 3 terms?
Yeah, I heard. Quite clear.
Okay. Jimmy, you heard before? And you heard-
Читание у нас. So now let's speak a little bit about the technically some things when you speak with people and when you give presentation. So when we speak in front of people, we have to try to see what are these people, on what kind of level they are. In other words, we can have 2 approaches when we are speaking in front of people. One approach is already I have in my mind what I want to speak of. And then like for example, you want to speak about 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Rasa Lila. And suddenly people are coming for first time in the temple. I'm saying this example for a purpose, just to show the difference. First time people, so now obviously you have to explain the basics of the philosophy, but you're already so much attached to speak about what you decided that you say, no, I won't change my topic, and you just go on with your topic. So obviously your topic is inappropriate to the audience, to the people who are here. And then the other ways, you may have idea what you want to speak, but then you have to take in consideration people who are there, your listeners. The best is, of course, already when you are preparing to know what kind of people they will be and prepare accordingly, but sometimes it's not possible. So we should be able to adjust our presentation according to the people in front. Because the presentation has a purpose. What is the purpose? To make the people at least increase their faith. At least that much. Maybe even more. But at least increase their faith. When they hear what we are speaking, that these people, they say, yeah, I like this philosophy. I think this is something great. Maybe I have to take some of these points and put them in my life. At least that much we should try to achieve. Of course, it depends on Krishna, but being an instrument, we are trying to achieve at least that much. So it's always good that we take in consideration who is in front of us. Now, if there is devotees who are, all of them joined 10 years ago in Krishna consciousness, we can make one kind of presentation. Yes? For example, what kind of specific things we can use in this presentation? Can we use terms, like different Sanskrit terms? Yes? The Jiva, the Chaturvarga, the Sambandha Vidya Prayojana.
Bhukti, Siddhi, yes.
No problem, because they understand. They know. By saying one word, they will understand a term that actually maybe you have to spend 2 or 3 sentences to explain what's the meaning. But now if we have a new people, what about them? We cannot use the term because they don't know what means the term. So at least we have to introduce the term. If we are going to mention a term, at least after that we have to give short explanation, 1, 2, 3 sentences. So today we are going to speak about the Dharma of the living entity in regards to Krishna. Okay, what is Dharma? Now you have to explain. Once you explain and they understand, then you can use this term. And just by mentioning one word, they will know. But before that, you cannot use it. Is it? Yes?
You must be aware of Bhakta slang that we're using. We have this word.
Fright,
Oh, right.
far out, space out. What else? Super duper,
Fired up.
fired up.
This book is super duper.
You can use sometimes, but just be conscious. Be conscious when you are speaking. Sometimes some of the... so what else? What else we should or we shouldn't use when we speak about devotees and non-devotees?
Shlokas to the non-devotees, the big shlokas.
Okay, correct, yes.
And even if we should give more brief examples.
Yes. If you give a class which is 80% shlokas, it's great that we know the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart, but is it going to be helpful for a new people? Even for Indians, they may appreciate that we know Shastra, which is good, but how much they understand. So we have to explain. Generally speaking, especially when you are giving a formal talk like Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, it's always good to have quotes from Shastra, because this makes your speaking more authoritative. People understand what he is saying is according to Shastra. He is not deviating. He is not figuring out something now from his mind. But we should always explain what we are saying. We should keep in mind that people who are there, it should be relevant for them. And we should watch them. And if we see in their eyes that they don't understand what's going on, or they start getting a little bit restless, that means we have to change maybe a little bit something.
To make it more attractive for them.
More attractive, more interesting, to keep their attention. Not that we are going to be a clowns now.
Yeah.
But take in consideration the people, present the topic in a way that it's interesting for them. Yes.
I would think, I don't know if it's correct, but I would think less pastimes, more philosophy for new people. Because sometimes, the other day, one devotee was giving a class and there was one new person. He was talking about how Mahavishnu has a desire to see Lord Krishna, and he's explaining that pastime. But I don't know if the new person would understand all of that. So I would think, unless the pastime is illustrating, there's a point to it. Like, okay, this pastime is saying how we're not the body. Some basic philosophy. I don't know if it's correct.
So, do we have to present more philosophy and less stories for the newcomers? Well, I would say both will work, but again, the main principle is keep it relevant to the person. Because you have stories and stories. You can say so many moral, nice stories, like from Mahabharata, that will make 100% sense to the people, and actually they may enjoy it a lot. Because it's a story. Generally, people, they prefer to listen stories. Not so many people like just to listen philosophy. Some people are more intellectual by nature. They want to listen a little bit more philosophy. But generally, most of the people are story guys. That's why if you go in internet and see, let's say, lectures of gurus, some are putting a little bit more stories in their lectures, and some are speaking only heavy philosophy. Well, see how many watches you have on one and the other. Because it's much easier to listen story. Like if it's story, you can listen 2-3 hours lecture, no problem. It's philosophy, 40-50 minutes already starts getting a little bit tight.
It's philosophical way they think that we already know it, and stories they're imagining in their mind and they keep going, that attracts them more and more into it.
Yes.
Philosophical way they think that, I already know what's happening.
At the end, we are going to mention something about how it goes connection between philosophy and stories. I want to keep it for the end. But just now I would say, keep it relevant to the people. Just whatever you are doing, watch them and see how they react. And if you keep their interest, that's fine. If you see that you're losing their interest, okay, that means you have to change something. Pray to Krishna to give you intelligence, what to do, how to present the topic accordingly, so that you keep their attention. Something else that we should do or we shouldn't do in regards to devotees and new people. Sometimes we have the tendency just to repeat or just to read. We are going to give a class and we are saying, yes, so now according to this topic, about this topic, Srila Prabhupada, he has a very interesting purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 1st chapter, verse 3. So the verse goes, and then Srila Prabhupada in the purport is saying, and actually if you think about it, Srila Prabhupada also has very nice purport in this place. Let me read and also in Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Krishna is saying, and Srila Prabhupada comments, it's good, but anyway, these people, they can go at home and they can read all these things. So they want to hear a little bit your understanding. You read these verses. Now they want you to explain this with your own words. So that's a little bit more difficult, huh? It's easy just to read it and to say, Srila Prabhupada is saying. But if they just want to read what Srila Prabhupada is saying, they will stay at home and they will read the books. No need to drive 2 hours, one here and one back. They want to hear how you are going to explain the points that Srila Prabhupada is making. So now this is your task. There is a very interesting purport in Srimad Bhagavatam. I think the last purport in 1st canto, 3rd chapter, if I'm correct. Later we can check it out. But then, you can check it out if you like.
1st canto, 3rd chapter.
1st canto, 3rd chapter, the last purport, if I'm correct. So basically the idea is that Srila Prabhupada is saying we should present the teachings as they are given by acharyas, but we should present them in an interesting matter according to our realizations. So we should explain them to people as much as we understand. And then we should try to make it interesting for the people so that they are captivated by Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the most relishable and sweet thing in the whole world. So we should try to be instruments and present it in a very interesting manner. You found it or no?
I found 44, verse 44 is.
Mm-hmm.
I have the purport, but this is 1:3:44.
344. Let me see. Shukadeva Goswami presented Srimad Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father, and so also Sutta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Shukadeva Goswami. Simple hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word Nivishta means that Sutta Goswami drank the juice of Bhagavatam through his ears. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. Yes, there was also something else somewhere. Anyway, maybe I'll try to find it and read it for you. But the point was that we should present whatever we are presenting according to our realizations. We should not try to show off that, oh, I'm the great person, I'm this and that. And at the same time, we should not be too boring. Just make it a little bit interesting. Like, for example, our Chandrasekhar Maharaj, I don't know if you saw it, but every time he tried to do something interesting, something that will create attention in the listeners. So we can get a good example from him and try to do the same when we are presenting a topic. And other important thing is prepare yourself. If you're going to speak, prepare yourself. Just take the time that you need to prepare. Whatever is your topic, just go read few hours, one day, if you can, 2 days, maybe if it's important event that you're going to speak for, 3 days, just read. When you're reading already, so many interesting things will come, so much connections will be there, and so many things you want to share that actually the time that you have, let's say, 40 minutes, 1 hour of presentation, it won't be enough at all. So if you want to give a substantial talk, we should read before that. This will give us enthusiasm and lots of points that we want to share with people. Maybe another practical thing is try to focus in your presentation to have 2-3 main points. If we have too many main points, people will become confused what is the essence of the presentation. Let's say if you have 10 main points, then most probably people, they won't remember even one of those 10 points. But if we have 2 or 3, most of the people most probably will remember these 2 or 3 points. So 2 or 3, then we may have many side points or many stories that exemplify this. But our main point should be 1, 2, maximum 3 points for one class, 20, 30 minutes. Yes, just give them as a synopsis. That was the other thing that I wanted to speak. Generally, we have a model. Pandava, if he was here, he could say more about this. Maybe if he comes, I'll ask him to say something. But generally, we have a model which is called Panchanga Nyaya. And our acharyas, they are using this model to logically present a topic. Panchanga Nyaya means, do you understand what means? Pancha?
5
Anga,
limbs,
limbs. Nyaya,
logic.
correct. Logic, which has 5 parts. So what are these 5 parts? We give a statement. For example, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we explain our statement. Why Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Well, because He is the source of everything. Everything comes from Him. All the energies are subordinate to Him. All the expansions are coming from Him. Even the great demigods like Brahma, Indra, Shiva are always praying to Krishna and they are accepting Him as the Supreme. That's why He is the Supreme. Now, after we said our thesis and after we explain it, now we can prove it a little bit more. How? By giving a story. Example. Okay, in Bhagavatam we have the story when Shiva went to fight with Krishna and Krishna was the winner. So that's why Krishna is higher than Shiva. Or no, maybe that's not the best example. Better example. Krishna lifted Govardhan hill. So this shows that he is a special personality. Krishna fought with so many demons. He killed them all. So this shows he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the great sages accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we can give some examples, some story to show this. Like the story of Govardhan hill, or we can mention the story of Bhagavad Gita, how Arjuna and Krishna are going for the battlefield and then Krishna is accepting. Krishna is giving knowledge to Arjuna, and Arjuna, because of getting this knowledge, is accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So give example. Exemplify the philosophy that you are speaking. It makes it easier for people to understand it. And then, if there is some doubts, now you can deal with the doubts. But what about some people are saying Shiva is the Supreme, not Krishna? Or some people are saying Indra is the Supreme, not Krishna. Okay, now then you refute this. Refute it. You show how this is not correct. By philosophy or by another stories, yes.
Yeah, yes. We can ask them, like, why do you think Indra is the supreme?
You can ask them. If they cannot come alone to this conclusion, you can help them. Give them some stories, give them some philosophy, give them some verse. Like for example, we have Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. Shiva is speaking to Parvati, and Shiva is saying, from all kinds of worship, the greatest worship is the worship of Vishnu. Shiva is saying this. How you are saying Shiva is the Supreme when he is saying that Vishnu worship is the Supreme? Or you are saying Indra is the Supreme, okay, but Indra, he asked help from Krishna. Like for example, when one demon, Narakasura, he stole some of the attributes from the heavenly planets, like the Parijata flower and earrings of Aditi, the mother of the demigods. He asked help from Krishna to get them back. So why he's going to ask help from Krishna if he's more powerful than Krishna? When Indra fought with Krishna, who was the winner? Krishna. So all these things, they help us. When Indra wanted to inundate with flood Vrindavan, and Krishna said, no, it won't happen. Who was the winner?
Krishna.
So all these stories, they prove. And then at the end you give conclusion. That means Krishna is the Supreme. So you started with this, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then you explain why. Then you gave examples. Then if there is some doubts, you crash the doubts, and then you come to the same thing. And then you can get a new point, and then try to do the same. Of course, not always you should go through all these 5, but full logic would mean you go through these 5, then it will be very strong presentation for the people, especially for intellectual people. It will be very convincing for them. But sometimes you can miss parts, like sometimes acharyas by explaining Shastra, they miss, because they decide now no need to deal, let's say, with doubts. So let's say they just make a statement, they explain it, and they say, so that means Krishna is the Supreme Bas. And they continue after that. Why? Because before that somewhere they dealt with all other things. So they decide now no need to go again very precisely through all the points. So what we were speaking before, if we are speaking about example, stories and philosophy, generally this is how it should go. Stories and philosophy should go together, because actually stories, they exemplify practically the philosophical points. So when we give a philosophical point, then if we nicely know Shastra, we will be able immediately to put a story to exemplify this philosophical point. And then makes it nice for people to understand, to get it.
I also heard some lectures. They are like going through like a half an hour, and in the end they come to the point. That's the topic of the lecture. Like step by step by step, explaining some stories. Maybe
Introduction.
yeah, something like Gorgopal, this brahmachari from the Vardaniko village. He has something like this style.
You can do that.
Step by step, and in
Of
the
course.
end, this is the about.
Yeah. Of course, we shouldn't do in such a way that our introduction is 45 minutes and our main presentation is 5 minutes. That's another thing. But if your way of presenting is just overview of a topic, then yes, like Banu Maharaj, for example, his lectures are very often like an overview. So basically, he takes you from one place and he brings you all the way to the other place. And meanwhile, you understand basically the whole philosophy in a very clear, very systematic way. Yes. So some technical points. If we are giving like formal class, let's say Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita class, what is generally the standard? First we sing Jai Radha Madhava. Then generally we should say Premadvani, because this is what Prabhupada was saying. Premadvani means Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraja Kacharya Ashtatarashat. Sometimes devotees nowadays are skipping it, but actually if we see the senior devotees like Prabhupada disciples, generally most of them they do it because they know Prabhupada was doing it. So generally this is the etiquette. Then we will say the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Whereas the Guru also like this.
This will come little later. So we start the Bhagavatam class by praying to Krishna Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Then we can recite some other prayer, like for example, often before, especially reading Bhagavatam in the morning, we quote which one? One before that. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayamutire. Where is this verse coming from? Where?
Second chapter.
Verse?
Verse 40, so 41, 42.
It's 4.
Verse 4.
1, 2, 4, yes. You can learn this verse just to know it in the future when you have to give Bhagavatam class. So generally this verse is quoted before reading Bhagavatam, and then some devotees are quoting additional verses. So then, if the lecture is on Bhagavad Gita, we won't quote this verse. This verse is for Bhagavatam. But then we can quote some other verse which glorify Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes we can hear devotees like Vaisheshika Prabhu, other devotees, they quote different verses glorifying Bhagavad Gita. So then we are going to read what? The verse. And then?
The Sanskrit.
Yes, the verse as we are doing it generally, yes. The verse, then others can repeat, then we are going to read word by word, then we are going to repeat the translation, and then we are going to read the purport. And then generally, after reading the purport, now is the time to offer obeisances, Mangala-charana. Offer obeisances to your Guru before you start commenting, before you start speaking on the purport of the Acharya. Then you ask for blessings. Your Guru, the Guru Parampara, the presiding deities, the Vaishnavas, all these personalities. Why we are repeating Mangala-charana? Sometimes someone may say it's not practical, like especially in India, like you can see some brahmachari sitting there already like 15 minutes, he's just prayer after prayer, prayer after. I mean, just give the Bhagavatam class, come on, it's time for breakfast. But it's not just a ritual, there is a purpose behind it. Because the idea is, by praying, you should enter the proper mood. The mood that you are an instrument. That's the idea of praying before speaking. Of course, sometimes we can proceed just speaking. It depends on the situation, people that are in front. But generally it's part of Vaishnava etiquette that before you speak, you pray. You pray for mercy, so that you can say something bona fide, quality talk. And then you start your presentation. So generally when you make your presentation, always it's good to have little bit introduction, but not too much. Don't make your introduction half class. But 5 minutes to 10 minutes you can make introduction, connection with the previous verses, with the previous topic, maybe mention something about the chapter itself. And then gradually you enter your topic. And in your topic, most important thing is you should present it logically and understandably for the people. That's the most important thing. And this presentation can be 20 minutes, can be 30 minutes, but something like that, around 20 to 30 minutes. And then at the end you have to, what is the English word? Round up? Oh, no. Wrap it up. Thank you very much. Wrap it up gradually. And then, again, generally at the end it's good that you repeat the main points of your presentation. Because sometimes people, they may lose themselves in somewhere in the presentation, or they may forget. So if you remind them at the end, it's very nice. So today we spoke about this point, this point, this point, and we came to this and this conclusion. Start on time and finish on time. Don't be late, neither in the beginning nor at the end. Also, don't make your presentation too short. Use your time. If a Vaishnava gives you a certain amount of time, try to use it as much as possible. Sometimes when we are making presentations in Mayapur, like lectures, and you get feedback after that. And sometimes I was finishing earlier, and the devotees, they were correcting me. The devotees like Navinanir the Prabhu. They were saying, you finish 4 minutes earlier. Why are you doing this? I said, well, I just finished what I wanted to say. He said, but you had another 4 minutes. You could utilize them. You could make some nice points, something. So basically, use your time, but don't become too enthusiastic and go half an hour after the time that devotees gave you. Basically, if something is announced, if it's announced that there is a lecture, let's say, the lecture will be from 8 to 9. This is how people, they what you're doing with the computer? You
program your mind.
Yeah, correct. This is how people program their mind. Okay, from 8 to 9 o'clock I have to listen Bhagavatam. So now, to go a little bit earlier is okay. But to go above time, unless you are, I don't know, Prabhupada personally, or Rupa Goswami, or Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Jayapataka Maharaj, it's not recommendable. Why it's not recommendable? Because people are there and people are giving you from their time. But they are ready to give certain amount of time. So they decide that I'm ready to give time from 8 to 9 o'clock. Now, if you start dragging it too long, there is the opposite effect. People, they start getting, come on, I like, what, you are like the next Shiva Vyasadeva or what? Come on, give me a break. Of course, Vaishnavas, they are very tolerant and they will sit there and they will wait. But we should respect the time of the devotees. That's why go on time, make your presentation on time, and finish on time. This will create respect in the others, and they will be ready to come and give you time. If you are too uncontrollable in your presentation, it may have opposite effect a little bit. If people, they don't know what to expect from you, sometimes they may be afraid to come and dedicate for your talk, because they don't know, if I go and I have to go 9 o'clock, if he goes till like 9:45, what I'm going to do? It's uncomfortable to get out on half of the class, so better don't go. It can be like that. So just see what amount of time people are ready to give you, and give them as much as you can for this amount of time. Sometimes we make this mistake in the amount of time that we have, let's say 30 minutes, we want to give them everything. The information that generally they have to get for education of 12 years, we want to give it to them for half an hour. And it becomes like something like the Star Wars. Okay, I think it's enough information. No, wait a minute, I have another very important 16 points to make. Just give me another
16 points.
So just be attentive, look at the people and see how much they can get. And as much as they can, give them that much. This is better than to try to give them way more than what they can get, and at the end they won't remember anything and they'll become fried. So basically we have to control ourselves and be very attentive to the people. Also, very important point, when you are giving a lecture, especially when you are answering the questions to the people, don't get angry to people. Like, don't do this. People know or don't know if they're in ignorance or they're very intelligent. They are who they are. Just give your best. Be a good representative of Guru and Krishna. Don't show off. Don't play the big games. Don't get angry to the people. Oh, you are this and that. Who are you? What do you think? Do you know who I am? I studied this and that many years in Vrindavan, in Mayapur. Just who are you to say like this? Don't do that. Like Prabhupada, he can do it. Prabhupada is Prabhupada. But we are not Prabhupada. We have to kind of stay humble and gentle and meek and try to be nice with the people. Yes.
What is the line between speaking strongly? Because sometimes you have to shock them a little bit so they could understand the point. And what is the line between speaking strongly, sometimes using a little heavier words to shock them a little bit, and letting anger overtake you?
First, I would say try to be faithful to your nature. If your nature is you are a very meek and humble person, don't try to play a game that you won't be able to play. Now, if your nature is such that you can do it a little bit more the harsh way, and you want to use your nature for Krishna, okay, you can do that to some extent, but you should be very careful not to be out of false ego. What is the difference? If you are speaking strongly, or if you are speaking a little bit in a passionate way, but it's not out of false ego, the moment you finish, you'll be back to normal. Like, for example, if you become angry because you are angry and you're just trying now to throw it on the people, you'll be angry when you are speaking, you'll be angry after that, it won't be good for you, it won't be good for them. But now, if sometimes you are speaking to someone, but you see he's not getting the point, and Krishna gives you intelligence that, okay, you have to make the same point, but more strongly. For this person particularly, it should be a strong way. This is how he's going to learn. And then you do it not out of false ego, you do it just to help him to get it. This can be okay sometimes. But generally this will be the exception, yes? this won't be the case. Like sometimes we see some gurus, they can do things in a different way, but this is their nature, and Krishna empower them to do it. Like for example, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Have you listened lectures of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj? You can open in YouTube and hear, especially often he was giving big speeches in front of many people in Africa, in US also sometimes. Heavy speaker, like he's screaming while but this is his nature, and because it's a natural for him, people accept him as he is. So if for someone this is natural, then no problem, people will accept him. This will be part of your individuality. But again, generally, Vaishnavas, they speak in a meek, humble, positive way, agreeable. They are agreeable personalities. But sometimes, in order to benefit someone, Krishna may give you the intelligence that, okay, I have to try in a different way. But this will be rather exception. I'll tell you a story at the end to show this, but at the end, yes.
Bhaktisiddhanta, I think he was a strong speaker most of the time, I heard.
Yes. But again, he was speaking very strongly, but in a very philosophical and intellectual way. But he was not like attacking people or this or that. Sometimes he was, especially when it comes to impersonalists. That's why Srila Prabhupada took this mood from him. Sometimes we also can do it. But again, generally, we should be meek, humble, positive people. We should present the matter in this way. Okay, so that was some of the main points I wanted to mention. Of course, this is a big topic. Many things can be said. Most important is when we start practicing, when we do it 1-2 times, and then you start feeling it, and then you will get more and more experience in it. Would you like to add something, to say something, to share something?
So the presentation topic, you will give us the topic?
I'll give you topics,
okay.
And then maybe we can do this in Thursday. Would you like to do it in Thursday? So each one, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each one can make a 5-minute presentation, and we will have 5 minutes to give him feedback. It's okay? And I'll give you different topics.
Can we also make like a PowerPoint or?
No need, because this will a little bit more take our attention. Now we just want to work on a specific things. What is your mood when you are presenting? If your mood is proper, if you gave time to prepare, really, to grasp the subject matter, to present it very in an understandable way for the audience. If you are going to start on time, if you are going to finish on time, how you are going to answer a question if there is a question. Are you going to start showing off or something like that? So these kind of things we can start checking them out.
So you will give us topics, or we should choose something?
You want to choose? So okay, whoever want to choose, he can choose a topic. It's just 5-minute presentation. You have 5-6 minutes to present your topic. This would mean you have to make some strong philosophy point, explain it a little bit, you can give some example, and give a conclusion. Or if you like, you can address some doubts also, and then give a conclusion. If someone is if someone cannot get it, if someone cannot get the topic, just come to me, I'll give you some topic, okay?
I don't have a topic.
Okay,
You can
I'll
say
give you.
I will choose karma for Tuesday.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
Thank you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande.